Welcome to Home Biz Tax Talk. My name is Lysandra Everett. I am the Home Biz Tax Lady and the principal owner of Everett Tax Solutions, where we help you win the tax game. Home Biz Tax Talk airs Monday through Friday. And when you tune into my show, you're going to hear about topics that are important to the small business community. All right. So over the last couple of videos, I've really been talking about what is going on behind the scenes at the IRS. And it's really interesting listening to the heads of various departments really lay out what they're doing step by step. So the only way that you don't know is if you are really not paying attention, or if you really don't have a tax professional that you are working with on a regular basis to really stay up on these things and know what's happening. So this morning, I was listening to a couple of interviews, one with the chief counsel and the Criminal Investigative Division, the head of the new Office of Fraud Enforcement, and also their chief counsel. It was a couple people, y'all. Okay. But there was a few things that caught my attention, and I really wanted to bring them to you. And of course, it is what their focus is for 2021 and going forward. So let's start with the Office of Fraud Enforcement, or the Fraud Enforcement Office, also the FEO. We get down with our initials, right? And here's what they're focusing on. They're focusing on the high wealth taxpayers. And they're also talking about high wealth taxpayers that have businesses such as S corps and partnerships. Why? Because traditionally, these types of business entities are the least audited among them all. Okay, so now they're shifting their focus to start looking more at these S corps and partnerships. And so during that time that they're focusing, they're going to be determining whether or not there is more or less fraud going on with these. But they're also looking at the non-filers, people who are just blatantly just not filing tax returns. And they've done some studies, and it's just shown that people are just deliberately not filing their tax returns. So yeah, they're going to be coming for you. And there was one study that showed really how much tax revenue is lost, the potential tax fraud involved, and the for the number of taxpayers who file an extension but never actually file a return. So those are the types of people that are going to be getting investigated more. People that are getting questionable looking refunds, okay? Whether it is through identity theft or earned income tax credit fraud. Now, people get bent out of shape about the earned income tax credit being audited more than anything, but you also have to understand this is the highest paying tax credit in our tax system. And once that money is gone, if it's obtained fraudulently, 9 times out of 10, once that money is gone, it's gone. Okay. And then here's something that is new to me that I did not know, is the offer in compromise. Now, the offer in compromise is when someone has a tax bill that they cannot pay. They do not have the income, they do not have the assets, and they have this huge tax liability. So they may apply for an offer in compromise. And what the IRS is now investigating is people's financial statements. Are you lying in order to get your offer in compromise accepted? So they're going to be looking at people who are, getting these offers and compromises and making sure that those financial statements are correct. And then also for employers who are not paying the required employment taxes. All right. So you've got employers who you withhold taxes from the employees' paychecks and don't turn those over to the government. Okay, so that is where the Fraud Enforcement Division is actually focusing their efforts, right along with, there's some other ones, y'all. Okay, so they're looking at, of course, COVID fraud. Now, here's what people don't know. Right along with all of the economic assistance that came from the federal government for COVID, they also stood up this Fraud Enforcement Division, okay? Because And the head of the fraud enforcement specifically said they know that whenever the government is giving out funds for assistance to taxpayers, there's always going to be fraud. As a matter of fact, when COVID started, I remembered reading an article about a guy who fraudulently got small business funds during 9/11, because after 9/11 the government did this same thing where they gave funding to help small businesses. Well, this one guy, he said, he got this money fraudulently, he got busted, and he went to jail. And I want to say he went to jail for like 7 or 17. It was something with a 7, but he went to jail. And so he was saying that this is not worth it. If you value your freedom, that taking money from the government fraudulently is not worth it. But you also see how many cases of COVID fraud are popping up. COVID, shutdown started in March. Money was going out quickly, and they prosecuted their first case in May. So within 60 days, they were prosecuting their first COVID fraud case. Absolutely bananas. The other thing that they're looking at is the offshore vehicles for evading tax. And you saw that both with the billionaire Robert H. Smith with his case. He was just a small fish on the way to a larger fish. And I want to say it's like $2 trillion. It was something bananas that the person they were after was evading taxes. But those offshore type things, and also with John McAfee, who was just blatantly out there saying, look, I ain't filing no returns. I don't plan on filing no returns. I don't plan on paying no taxes. So if the IRS wants me, they need to come get me. Well, they found him in Spain and came and got him like he said. Okay. So the criminal investigative division of the IRS is really, they work in overtime. So we knew a few years ago that the IRS funding was cut. Well, they got some more money and they're hiring more people. And then let me give you just the process of how this is all happening. So the process is there's some kind of badge of fraud that is going on with your return that gets caught. Okay. So you've got your revenue agents that are looking at these returns and saying, there's something wrong here. So then those returns are then forwarded to the fraud enforcement office. And from the fraud enforcement office, then they look at those returns to see, do we have a criminal case, or is this something that can be handled civilly? So they will send cases either to the criminal division, or they will impose civil penalties. Okay. And so then from the criminal division, that's when all the prosecutions happen. Now, for the IRS, the criminal investigative division, their overall conviction rate is 92%. That is like the highest of all federal conviction rates. But just tax related is 95% win rate for the criminal tax division. Okay. So if they can't get you on something else, these taxes gonna tell the truth. But one thing about the criminal enforcement and the Office of Fraud Enforcement is that they're working system wide. Okay, so it's not just with the IRS. They're working with the Small Business Administration. They're working with FEMA. They're working with all of these major organizations to catch people who are fraudulently getting money from the government, not paying their taxes, that kind of thing. And also on the hit list is the cryptocurrency. Okay. So for 2020, the question about cryptocurrency is moving to the front page of the 1040. Okay. So this is where the government is asking you, have you been involved in a cryptocurrency transaction? Whether you bought it, whether you sold it, somebody gave it to you, whatever. Have you been involved in a cryptocurrency transaction? It doesn't necessarily mean that you have anything to report, because if you buy cryptocurrency and just hold it, there's nothing to report. Now, if you're trading in cryptocurrency, you got some reporting to do. If you buy something with your cryptocurrency, you got some reporting to do. So if you do not report those things, that can land you in hot water, right? So that's when they look to see, is it something that was an accident? Like, hey, you didn't report this according to, what we have. This is what you owe. So pay us our money and be gone. Or are you doing something really fraudulent? And one of the huge things that went on with cryptocurrency is finding the criminals on the dark web using cryptocurrency. They've taken down child sex trafficking rings. They've taken down people who have been funding terrorism. So there's a lot going on with that cryptocurrency thing. And yeah, they're starting out with the criminals. That is generally the reason behind these things. But, like the really big ones, like I said, child, sex trafficking and, terrorism. But you little itty bitty person that's trying to evade taxes, they'll eventually get to you. So the point is, don't do it, okay? Because I know I've had a lot of people ask me about cryptocurrency who are United States citizens and say, hey, if I keep my cryptocurrency, I don't know, in offshore somewhere, pick a country, do I have to pay taxes? And the answer is yes. If you are a U.S. citizen, you pay taxes on all income earned on this planet, period. And so now, and the thing with cryptocurrency that you also have to realize is that countries are working together internationally. So it's not just the US. They're also working with other countries. That's why I tell you, these folks might fight on this world stage about, tariffs and all this other stuff, but behind the scenes, oh, they're playing really nice in the sandbox to make sure they catch these criminals and get their tax money in all of these countries. Okay, so don't get it twisted. We might be going to war on one thing, but we cooperating on this money. And then the last thing is for the fraudulent promoters. Fraudulent promoters are people who promote those things that cause tax loss. Okay, and one of those are tax practitioners. They said that you can expect to see more penalties for tax practitioners who are promoting fraudulent things. Fraudulent things such as filing for false tax credits, all of that you see all the time, people doing shady stuff. But you're going to see more penalties happening for that. And if it rises to the level of criminal investigation, then yeah, you're going to be prosecuted and possibly sent to jail. So the criminal investigation and the Office of Fraud Enforcement, they are not playing. They are in the criminal investigative division. They are hiring 288 more special agents for fiscal year 21. And then they're going to be expecting to hire more and more every year. And one of the things that caught me is that they go through this fraud boot camp, which I thought was very interesting. So it's not just like serving a warrant and that kind of thing. It's also this fraud boot camp. I was like, I think I'd kind of like to go through that just to see what's going on in there. But yeah, so that's what's going on in the fraud detection. So the folks that got this free $10,000 grant, the people that got false PPP money who lied on applications, they're coming for you. As a matter of fact, there's a case that I read about like a family that got caught. And one of them, after their funds were frozen, Googled how to return PPP funds or PPP getting arrested. But what was funny about that is that, yeah, the investigators went to look on your Google to see what you searched. It was crazy. Okay, it's just crazy. So that's what's going on. So going forward, you guys, go ahead and file your taxes. File your taxes on time. And for my people that are doing funky stuff, listen, that day is over. They might not catch you today. They may not catch you tomorrow. Oh, but they will catch you. And when they catch you, if this is something that you have been doing over and over again, they're looking at your behavior. If it's habitual, they will prosecute you and they will sentence you to jail. All right. So I hope that gives you some insight of what's going on these behind the scenes in these IRS streets. All right. So thank you guys so much for tuning in to Home Biz Tax Talk. Again, we air Monday through Friday, and you can come right here to get your questions answered about your home business taxes. All right. Have a great day, and I will see you all next time. Bye.